Again, it's super loose. Like nothing.
Super loose.
Super loose.
Let's go.
I'm
gonna need coaching.
I'm
gonna need coaching,
man. Like I'm not good at it.
I need to be coached. I need help.
I wish I was better at it. Like the seats, I always have to push them up to the highest that they go, and I'm still a little
Seth,
too.
if you don't stop apologizing, this is fantastic, man.
Thank you, man.
This is great.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the Shoes Off podcast. I'd like to introduce Mike. Let me redo that. See, this is the thing, man. I'm already so bad at this. What's up, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Shoes Off podcast. My guest today is Dr. Ernest Cleo Grant.
Come on.
I appreciate you.
You got my middle name right.
I know.
Too.
What's your Instagram?
I wasn't expecting you to throw that in there. You know what? The reason I'm Ernest Cleo Grant is because I got made fun of in school. They used to call me Ernie.
Oh.
And I hated that.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I just can't be Ernie. So I said, let me start using my middle name. So
Gotcha.
Ernest Cleo Grant is stuck. Became my pen name.
That's a great name. That's honestly that's such a good name. It flows off the tongue.
Come on.
Doctor in the beginning makes it sound even better.
Come
It's
on.
great.
Come on.
So tell me a bit about yourself.
Yo, well, first let me just say, thank you for having me. This is amazing. What you guys are doing with APTHCRY is like, I mean, I just love to see. I'm a big fan. So I'm glad to be here on the podcast. I lead a church in Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Okay.
It's called Accelerate Church. We launched just means we started in 2021 of September. I was originally a pastor in Camden, New Jersey, in an inner city, more of an impoverished area, a predominantly black and brown city. My wife Sarah and I kind of got a vision in 2019 to take that church and move it from Camden to more like Camden County, Delaware Valley, so that we can continue to have influence in that region. And so it's been going well, man.
That's awesome.
People their lives have been changed. We've been able to have some really honest conversations about faith and doubt and fashion and all those things. So, man, I'm pumped to be here to be able to talk about it all.
Great, man. I'm really excited. Well, so the reason I brought you here, and we'll get into this later on in the video, is that over the last few years, there's really been an interesting sort of collision course of pastors and people in ministry, and then fashion and sneakers and things like that, which we obviously will get to, but just to give you guys an idea of sort of where this conversation is going. But I want to start things out.
Okay.
Right from the beginning. So coming up, what were you doing? Like, what'd you go to school for? What were you interested in? Like, just tell me everything.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So I went to a little high school in South Jersey called Burlington Township.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So shout out to the Falcons. And so there was playing baseball. I think that is when I really got a genesis for sneakers. How it worked in my high school was you only got three pairs of shoes.
Right.
You got a white pair of Air Force Ones, a black pair of Air Force Ones, and some Tim boots.
Nice.
So I would rock those
It's
until Easter,
Yeah.
and then I'd get a whole new setup. So it was interesting. But yeah, grew up in Burlington, graduated, went to a university in North Jersey called Kane University, and got a degree in environmental science.
Wow, okay.
Believe it or not. So I worked for a company that did the environmental consulting for ExxonMobil.
Oh, wow.
And so I would show up to gas stations. They had little potable wells. You ever see those things you ride over at the gas station? I'm sure.
Yeah.
I stick it's called a baler, like this 3-foot tube in, take the water out, pour it into a tube, write a letter to the DEP, send it in to APTHCRY, the laboratory, and then they give me my results back.
Right, okay.
I learned a lot during that season, right? Like I learned that, number one, science is hard work.
Yeah.
Right? Science is hard work. And I also learned, like, you know what, this is not necessarily something I want to do for the rest of my life, though I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Gotcha.
And so that's how I got into ministry, and we ended up starting a church and everything that happens. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Amazing.
It's cool.
Okay, very cool. Okay, how did starting a church work? Like, I've never actually, I've been going to church. I actually go to your church.
Come on, we're happy to have you.
Yeah,
Shout out to that.
Appreciate you. So I've never known how do people actually get into starting a church? How does church planting work?
Yeah. So church planting is probably a lot more detailed than people would imagine.
Okay.
And so I think it starts with a desire and a heart to see a region transformed, right?
Okay.
And not just behavioral modification, like here's some good principles and practices and this is going to change your life, but we believe in Christianity that it happens internally. Put your faith in Christ, believe in the life, death, burial, resurrection of Jesus. He actually changed you from the inside out, and then your life begins to look more and more like his. You let go of some simple practice, all these different things. And so typically I feel like you have this desire to see an area reach with the influence of Christ. And so if you have that desire, we say, hey, you're going to go plant a church. And so if you want to plant a church, you can go a few different routes. You can go the NASCAR route. You can go.
The NASCAR route.
Yeah, I'm about to explain to you. So there's these really, really reputable church plant organizations that will say, hey, we want to sponsor you to go and start a church. And so they can give you anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 or whatever have you, and they'll give you coaching, training. And in order to actually launch a church, to have the branding, the marketing, the sound equipment, the venue, bring on staff, you have to have a multiplicity of these organizations get behind you. Or sometimes you have one larger organization that says, hey, we believe in you. We'll gather a group of pastors, a group of leaders throughout the world or throughout the nation to kind of help you do this. And so I think, man, it's a huge process. You got to build a launch team. You got to come up with a marketing plan. You got to come up with a name, core values, an overarching vision statement. Then you have to have these little interest socials as you move toward launch, where you're telling people about what the church is doing, how it's going to impact the region, getting people on your team. And then you're looking to have a large launch on your first Sunday, because if you launch big, you often stay big. Not to just have a big church, but because you want to have the economic and the spiritual vitality in order to make a difference in that particular region. So, I mean, it's a lot to it, but you know, that's in a nutshell.
Wow, there is a lot to it. How do you sort of, I'm assuming now, you know, in the 2020s that we're in, like, social media is a big part of it, right? So how does that incorporate? How do you get people excited about, you know, what you're starting through social media? Is that, because I feel like it's not as easy as, like with sneakers, I only really know sneakers. With sneakers, you know, sneakers, people are already hyped about them. You know, they're already like, you post a picture of a cool pair of sneakers and they're like, that's fire, I'm gonna follow this person.
For sure.
I feel like with something as, I guess, as involved as, you know, starting a church or church, like it's probably harder and more difficult to get people more eyes on it and get people involved. Like, what does that entail?
It's not easy, but social media does play a huge part, because social media in some ways is how people visit your church before ever attending your church.
Interesting.
So if you're in launch phase, what we often do, or that's the phase from your day 6 months out from actually starting a church, I would say that a lot of pastors are using social media as a way to let that region know that we're actually starting a church, that something big is coming, something amazing is going to come to that particular area. So you're making reels, you're making short form content, you're explaining what you're going to do and how it's going to impact that particular area. So you're using social media as the primary tool in order to, because everybody's online, right? Like we did billboards. I did a restaurant buyout.
Oh, cool.
But the most impactful thing that we did was sponsor posts on Instagram.
Interesting.
Make a nice video where you're talking about your hope and your heart and pitching transformation. You know, like, I think the problem that a lot of churches run into is they make it all about their brand. I'm a big proponent of the Donald Miller story brand, which basically says that I don't make myself the hero, I make myself the guide. Which ones I run into a character, which is the people that are watching the content online, and they run into a problem, and they need somebody to navigate them through the problem that has already experienced it. Give them a great plan, a call to action. Here's what happens with the cost of inaction. Here's what happens if you're successful. So, for me, I think about social media in that respect. I'm not trying to gather a people. I'm trying to put forth, hey, if you do this, I believe your life is going to be transformed. I believe you're going to have you're going to have more freedom from being free from any addictions that you might have, and experience like wholeness and joy in your life. So yeah, don't give me, Seth, you got to be careful. I'm a preacher and I got a mic here. You better be careful.
Well, it's interesting. So I've been watching, like, you know, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I see a lot of different churches, and some churches are huge. How does a church, like, say, for example, like an Elevation or someone like that, get to that level? Do you know how they get to, like, being, they're not only like a big church in person, but their social media presence is ridiculous, like millions of subscribers. And then as someone, like, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are skeptical, like, how would you navigate the world of, like, becoming bigger on social media, but also, you know, still being authentic to who you are and who you know, as a church?
Churches like Elevation, what they know how to leverage social media and YouTube in an amazing way. And I think it starts with having a crystal clear picture of who you actually want to reach, who you are as an organization, and then starting with the end in mind.
Okay.
A lot of times we're experimenting, you know, just throwing things out, but who is the avatar of the person that you're trying to reach, and then kind of building and scaling around that. So working with graphic designers, artists, videographers, and realizing that those who are in our artistic community are just as important to our mission than our administrators and our preachers and our singers and all that. It's really incorporating a lot of different voices into the mix. So how Elevation does it, man, I wish, so if you, maybe you know, I haven't figured it out yet, but I would say, man, they know who their target audience is. They know which content they're leveraging the most, which is Pastor Furtick's voice and his clips. That's what you see. And they're what they're, I hate to call it a product, but their product is very good. The angles and the footage and the worship and the sound, the lights is very good. So I think that's if I could guess, I would say that's probably the direction that they're headed.
That makes sense. It's interesting that you said the thing about the avatars, because I feel like that's something that's true across all social media. Like, you need to know what the person is that you're marketing to. Not even marketing, but the person who's
Correct.
watching your content. And that's true for everything. I've noticed that with people who are watching videos about how to start YouTube,
Sure.
sneakers, anything, any sort of topic. And it's really interesting to kind of dissect social media in that way, because it really is sort of, in a way, it's you want to show your authenticity, but it's also like, it's a little bit of a game. Like, you really got to see what works and sort of how it. So it's interesting sort of to navigate that. I'm sure.
Like, there's a variety of methods, right? Like, there is we're going to go the organic route and use iPhones and, just kind of build an audience through the organic curation of content. Then there's the group of churches that would say, no, we need to be more polished and have a little bit more flashy appeal. I think it all differs based upon who you are, who the organization is, who the pastor is, all those type of things. But like for us, particularly at Accelerate Church, we are trying to specifically reach people in the Delaware Valley region. So as far north as Mercer County, as far south as Cecil County, Maryland.
Oh, cool.
And so there is a 6.2 million people in that region. And so we kind of did like an assessment on who that person is. That area is overly religious, but deeply underengaged when it comes to like the Christianity. They're like, yeah, we've heard of it. And so we want to deal with some of the cultural idols or opposition. Like, that area in particular that we're in is hustle culture. It's hustle, it's grind. It's, you see all the hustle grind content online that you're picking yourself up by your bootstraps. So I think if you want to reach a target audience, you have to know who they are and then tailor a message that's consistent with who you are to that specific audience.
That's really
But listen, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying. I'm a humble pastor trying to figure it out.
That made a lot of sense, and that sounded really good. And I feel like that is a really good way to approach it, because some people, like, they just throw out content and expect it to hit, and other people, they get too analytical, and then they're just not throwing out the content. They're just thinking about it too much. So it seems like you're right in the right path in that direction, which is great.
I appreciate that, man. Well, I have a very, very good team of people that are a lot smarter than me. That's really
the most important thing, honestly. Like, I feel like with businesses in general, like, you got to find people who are better than you at all the things that you're not good at.
100%. 100%. Found a lot of people, and then, I listen to their advice. If they say, now sometimes I do try to insert my opinion. They're like, all right, Pastor, we hear you. Well, okay, we're going to do it because we love you. But, their advice oftentimes is much more informed than mine. So I just go, okay, let's try it. Let's make it happen.
Well, okay, so let me pivot a little bit away from social media. Let's talk more about sneakers, because a lot of people watching are probably sneaker fans who came from APTHCRY, my channel, or whatever. I want to know what you got on.
Yes, today I've got on. Nice. I know this might be a controversial take, but I've got on my Wave Runners.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I've got on my Wave Runners, my Yeezys. Nice. I've always loved this shoe.
It's a great shoe.
It's a great shoe, and you can almost wear it with anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those shoes where you can sort of separate the art from the artist, because it's like, it's a great shoe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not,
And I got these before all the anti-Semitic comments.
Yes, of course,
I just want to throw that out there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he really took a turn.
Yeah,
he definitely took a
surely
turn.
did.
But for a while, his music and his sneakers were really, his fashion was really, really good, like top of the. I mean, we all know that. You can't deny that. But
yeah. I mean, politics and religion aside, I hope that he really gets some help, because some of the comments are very, very incendiary, very, very offensive to a variety of communities.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a cry for attention. So I hope he gets the help that he needs. But prior to that, he made some really nice
sneakers. He made some great shoes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what got you into sneakers originally?
All right, so I've been I hate to call myself a sneakerhead, because I feel like that's a millennial term.
Fair enough.
But I've been collecting sneakers for the better part of 20 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so sneaker culture is not something I put on like a robe when I wake up in the morning. It's something that's authentically who I am. I know what it's like to wait in line for shoes.
Right.
I know what it's like to wait in line and be disappointed because you didn't get them. I know what it's like to get the East Bay magazine. I know
Yes.
that's dating myself. You know, get the East Bay magazine, like and order the shoes and get them sent to your home. Like I know what that's like. So I've probably been collecting sneakers since middle school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the first sneaker.
Okay.
I'll tell y'all, I'm getting old. First sneaker I can remember buying with my own money was the original Questions, the Reebok Questions
Wow, okay.
by AI.
Okay.
I had the white and red ones.
Yep.
And I remember getting them when they dropped. And I wore them to middle school. You had to enter through the gym when you got dropped off early.
Right.
And I remember walking in with them thinking, like, I'm the man. Then he came out with the answers. I think it was next season, where they had the zip up.
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah.
the I3 on the side. And man, I think that is what helped, like, with the genesis of my love for sneakers.
So you were an AI fan, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, everybody, you had to be an AI
that's true.
fan. You had to be, because he was Philly. I
Yeah.
grew up during a time where he was the most influential person on the planet,
Right.
arguably.
Yeah.
Right? When he carried the Sixers to the championship, stepped over Tyronn Lue. I think that was 2000.
crazy, yeah.
Like,
That was
I
great.
was like in high school when that was happening. It happened in real time.
That's awesome.
And so I
That's
just
awesome.
kind of remember, his rise, his ascension to the top. So.
That's amazing. So what other sneakers would you wear? Would you wear Jordans as well?
Okay,
Like, were you-
so Jordans was, from what I remember, it was a little bit out of my price range.
Okay.
But I was really, I tell you, when I really got into Jordans was when I could actually afford it, when I got a real job. Like I told you, I was an environmental scientist.
Right.
I remember my biggest miss, and I kick myself to this day, was I was at a holiday party in December, and I had a sneaker connect, and they said, hey, I've got the Space Jam Jordans here. And I think it was
go.
either 2008 or 2009, but I
Right.
couldn't get away from the party, and they sold my size. I remember sitting there mortified, like deep gut-wrenching pain, because I couldn't get them. I don't know if it was the ice blue soles or the yellow soles. I don't remember what it was, but I know like that's when I started collecting shoes. Started buying
Right.
3s,
Right.
11s.
Nice.
Love the 5s, 6s.
Do you have a favorite Jordan model?
Oh yeah, the Jordan 1, baby.
Okay.
The Jordan 1 highs. Yeah, the Jordan 1 highs. Jordan 1 highs.
Let's go.
Then the 2s are probably a little lower on my list.
Yeah.
I would say the 1s, 3s, 4s are probably tied, and I would say the 11s are probably. Now, okay,
That's my exact list.
I think the 8s are slept on.
I agree.
I
completely
think it was something.
agree.
Now, I don't know when. What's his name? Tim Kanker, whatever. I forgot his name. Who started designing the shoes? for Jordan.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Hatfield.
Tinker Hatfield.
Hatfield. So
It's
Tinker
my
Hatfield.
job. I
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to know this
Tinker
name. I
Hatfield.
couldn't remember it.
I don't know when he's. So the 1's classic.
Yes.
2's a little bit divergent from the pattern. 3's like arguably one of the best shoes.
That's the shoe that kept Michael with Nike. Was it?
It is. Yeah. I read that in Rare Air.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Let's
Sneaker
go.
Dog too. Like I kind of like
Let's
was into
go.
it. And so anyway, I love those sneakers. I just started collecting them over time, and really I didn't really get into the designer sneakers as much, like the Balenciagas and
Right, yeah,
all
me
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because in my position, okay, you're probably gonna say I'm gonna go ahead and segue. It's like
Let's
in my
do it.
position.
Let's get into
here's
it.
the thing, like I'm not putting on a role when I wear sneakers. This is who I am. But if my sneakers speak louder than my message, then I know they're becoming a distraction.
Gotcha.
And I can't be presumptive about all pastors that wear Balenciagas and Saint Laurent when they get into the pulpit. But what I do know is that many of the pastors that I know are much more generous, life-giving, and they're very generous with their finances and their resources. And this is just more of a hobby or something that they've gotten into, not necessarily an image that they're trying to portray. It's kind of what I've seen. And like sometimes, man, sneakers really, they open a door for conversation with others that no other form or no other tool actually does. And so I've had a number of people that say, hey, I started listening to you, or I'm willing to listen to you now because I saw that you had on some Jordan 1s when you got into the pulpit. And I was like, okay. So it started a conversation. But, at the same time, I just think we have to be careful.
Yeah.
We have to be careful. Why am I wearing these? For me, I would say, I'm being authentic. I'm authentically who I am. I've always been into sneakers. But if I feel like I'm wearing these for show, or this becomes more of a fashion show rather than reflecting God's glory, then I take a step back. And I'm like, okay, I've got to be careful. Got to be cautious about that, for sure.
Okay. Would you say that's generally the the feeling that you've gotten from other pastors that you know that have done that, or not even pastors that you know, but the pastors that you've seen online, the pastors that are huge, like the mega pastors who are rocking like the full-on fits. Would you say that you? I guess there's no way to know.
It's tough, right? Mm-hmm. Because in one sense, I do know that some of those pastors, they don't collect salaries from the church. Mm-hmm. Some of that is through book that they sold.
Okay.
It's through content on social media. It's through sermons that they preach that they monetize on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Many of them have a variety of income generating properties or a number of streams of income. So I think we have to be careful making snap judgments based upon what we see on IG. Mm-hmm. At the same time, do I believe that we have a responsibility to not flaunt our wealth? Yeah, I think we do. And so it gives me pause when I see it, but I have much more context than the average churchgoer. Just like you would have more context with sneakers. You've been at 1,000 sneaker shows. Like you have a lot of context. So I have a little bit more context, but I still can see like I can see how someone would walk away and say, hey, that pastors are all about sneakers and money and fashion. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this, that's a small percentage.
Right.
If you get on some of them with those IG accounts, they're really covering the same people 3 and 4 times.
True.
And so just like I wouldn't judge them in their field based upon 1 or 2 people, I don't think it's fair that we be judged based upon a handful of people that are always on these accounts, getting identified and believing that they're, flashing their wealth and all that.
That makes sense. What would you say to someone who maybe someone who it has a sort of reverse effect where it's like there's the people who really like seeing people in sneakers because they can identify with them, but then you've got the people who are like, well, okay, so isn't it in the Bible like you're supposed to sell everything that you have, like and just kind of like how do you respond to someone like that?
I don't think you have to have a theology of poverty.
Okay.
I don't think God's called us to that. I think He's called us to be good stewards of His resources.
Okay.
And as long as I'm a good steward of my resources, what that means is I'm not overspending. I'm trying to utilize my industrial nature by generating income. I'm taking care of my family. In our field, we believe that giving to the local church is considered worship to God. He's given us 100%. Giving back a bit to Him is actually honoring to Him, not taking away. It's kind of what it is actually liberation from being held down by the power of the dollar, right? The money tells you, hey, if you have me, you have security, you have significance, but we're finding our authenticity, our significance in money rather than God. So I would say as long as somebody's taking care of that, doing the right thing in that regard, man, I think we have to be careful with the snap judgments.
Right.
And I think we have to have more context and ask more questions rather than just jumping to a particular idea on this particular thing, a particular opinion on this particular idea.
Interesting.
Look at you go. Come on, you leading this podcast. These questions weren't the ones that you text me.
They were. It was in the same vein. Because I know, like, I'm gonna get comments either like, "Oh, you were too soft," or "You were too hard." So it's like I gotta find that middle ground.
Okay. Hey, listen. All right, listen. We all don't steal money.
Right.
We all don't have sex with women that are not our wives. We all don't ride around in Bentleys and in Continental GTs. We all don't do that. Many pastors that I know are bivocational pastors that are working part-time jobs and are underpaid.
Right.
And do this in their margin and do this in a margin of their life at the cost of their own families and friends and relationships. So this is a burden of call, not something that you're going to enrich yourself by.
Right.
So I can imagine that a lot of people working like, oh, pastor, it's just about money. Like, do you know what the average salary is for a bivocational pastor?
Right.
Churches are barely holding together. Do you know that people attend church 1 time a month now? It used to be 1.7. Now it's one time a month. Man, that congregations in many ways. Now, it's been an uptick recently in people attending church, but there's been post-COVID, there was a downtick in attendance and people believing that it was even viable for them to be a part of the local church. And so these pastors most pastors I know are not flaunting wealth. They're trying to survive and faithfully do the things that they're called to do.
Right. Okay.
Living out their convictions. Just so your audience knows, man. You know what I'm saying? Just so they know.
Okay, well, let's dive back into some of your own personal, I guess your journey, right?
Journey.
So currently, so how do you describe what you're doing right now? You are the lead pastor, or you are the founding pastor?
Yeah, great question. So I would say I'm the lead pastor.
Okay.
So my former pastor, Pastor Doug Logan, started this church called Epiphany Fellowship Church of Camden, all the way in 2011. Like, I'm deeply indebted to his discipleship, leadership for me during that time. He caught me at a time when my mother had just passed away, and he loved me, shepherded me, nursed me back to health. So deeply indebted. 2017, he passed the baton to me, and he took a much more influential role helping to shepherd and guide other men like me who were planning and started churches. And so I would say that I would still in many ways consider him the founding pastor, but I would say that I'm the lead pastor, because a lot of what I have is because of the legacy that he led and that he imparted into me. And so, but what I think has happened is we're kind of pioneering a new work and a new vision for Accelerate Church that looks a little bit different than his. But it's all still the same legacy, right? It's all still us working together in order to reach the demographic in the Delaware Valley region. So
Gotcha.
I think lead pastor is good. And what we would argue, because in the Bible, there's a letter written by one of Jesus' disciples. His name is Peter. And Peter they broke it into chapters, so it's easier to read. And he would describe Jesus as the senior pastor. And we would describe ourselves as under shepherds. And so I'm not in charge of my church. Though I lead it, I believe that we're being led by the Lord through the scriptures and by the Spirit to actually do what we're doing in the local church. Okay. I know that's a little involved.
But
I think it's helpful.
Good
right?
distinction to make. It was a really good distinction to make. Okay. So for someone maybe looking to either get into ministry or maybe even to get into even environmental sciences, like what sort of advice would you give? Or for example, like I like to ask this question: if you were to do it all again, right, with the knowledge that you have now,
sure,
how would you do it? How would you get to where you are, or even farther ahead of where you are?
Okay, so I am into a lot of those tests that assess our strengths, our weaknesses, how we're wounded, and how we're wired. And so if I could have did it again, I would have taken some of those tests earlier on to get in touch with who I am, right? So I love the Enneagram. I know some people have problems with it, but I love the Enneagram. The Enneagram primarily shows how you're wounded, the issues that have turned you into an 8, which is a protected person, or a 9 that is a peacemaker that sees a multiplicity of angles, or a 3 that is a someone that's achiever, right? I would have taken that. The Strength Finder is something that shows you your strengths. The Myers-Briggs shows you how you are wired, what you have the ability to do, and then the Work and Genius shows you how you accomplish work from ideation to implementation. And so if I could have done it differently, I would have taken a multiplicity of those tests earlier. And I would have, in order to learn my wiring, my gifting, and then I wouldn't have seen the pain that I've experienced in the past as a problem, but as something that's propelling me to my purpose.
Interesting.
I know that's a lot of P's there, but I'm just saying, like, I would have, like, all the things that we go through in life oftentimes is used to mold us and shape us into the person that we ultimately are going to be, and how we're going to be wired and impact that particular area, region of influence to people in our lives. So I would have not looked at my pain as much as a problem, and I would have learned a little bit more about myself. And I would have done it patiently. When you're early 20s all the way down to your mid 30s, it's almost like you're always in a rush to accomplish something. And you can feel like a failure if you're not successful, like I Show Speed at 18, or Aiden Ross, or any of the streamers, or Kai Kinnett, and all these guys. Like, they're successful so early, but a lot of people's success doesn't happen like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it happens over time in the incubator of life, not necessarily in the part of my analogy, but the microwave of life, where you just blow up instantaneously. And so I would have just tried to enjoy the process a little bit more and stop trying to rush in so much, man.
That's awesome. I love that. I really like that a lot, because that's something that, like, I feel like I've always kind of felt that. I felt that exact way. You know what I mean? Like, really just feeling like you're rushing around, you're always like dissatisfied with where you're at. And recently I've been thinking more about it. I'm like, okay, I'm actually, if I were to stop right now, like, I'm pretty happy with everything. Like, I'm just happy with my life, my family, like, everything's good. Yeah. And things could be a million times worse. And so it's like, it's good to appreciate and be thankful for the things that I do have. Yeah. So that's a really good mindset. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't have. I mean, like, exactly like what you just said.
The bar of contentment in our culture is always moving forward.
Yeah.
If you knew what APTHCRY was going to be 5 years ago, you would have been very, very happy about it. You'd be like, man, I get to go around the country. People know my shoes. I'm building a YouTube channel that it's not just about shoes and culture, but I'm impacting people in ways that they don't know. You'd have been happy. But now that we're here, we struggle with contentment. And so one of the most important things that I've learned is that life is very fragile. Life can be thrown out of the balance in an instant. So one of the most important things we can do is be grateful for the moments that we have. And I know that might sound like, sound crazy, man, but I'm telling you, like, I just enjoy being able to wake up, hear my kids' voices, drink a hot cup of coffee, and kind of just make jokes with my wife. Or spend time. Like, those are the moments that are the most valuable that we often overlook.
Right.
It's not, you're not going to get to the end of your age and be like, man, I made so much money.
Yeah.
Or, man, I climbed up the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
It's going to be less about the money you made and more about the relationships you developed.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
that's what it is. Like, I'm 39. I know I look 25, but 39 years old. And what's interesting when you get to near your 40s is, besides getting hair in your ear and hair coming out of places you don't imagine, but as you get reflective. So I've started to become reflective, thinking about grandchildren. My youngest is 18 months. I don't know why, but I'm just like, you know what would make me feel like I was rich is if when I got older, my kids wanted to live in the vicinity that I'm in so I can see my grandkids.
Right.
So I can hug them and kiss them and spoil them and send them back to their parents. And that my kids actually want to do life with me as I got older. Now I know for some of our crowd, like, that's a little bit far out, but legacy is the thing that I'm seeking to chase now, not as much accomplishments.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I really like that. And I think that, especially so my vision for this podcast is to be for people, creators and creatives, who want to talk about wherever they are in their journey.
Sure.
And I think that that's such an important mindset to have, especially being, a lot of people probably watching this are maybe either at the beginning of their journey or in the middle of their journey, most likely. And I think that it's a really good way to ground yourself, kind of being thankful for whatever it is that you have, just the good things that are happening, because you really can, like you said, you can lose it in an instant.
Yeah, you can lose it in an instant. Like, we have what we would describe as the Holy Bible, which we believe is sacred scripture. And it's not the book of superheroes, but it's a book of examples. We believe it's only one superhero. But one of the examples is a young man. His name is Solomon. They described him as the richest king ever. He's the Mark Zuckerberg. He's the Elon Musk of his day. Like, he had infinite riches. And he gets to the end of his life, and he said everything is vanity and vexation of the spirit. In other words, like, I've accomplished everything. I've come to the end of what I can buy with money and my consumer. And I realized that does not bring you quite the joy that you thought it would help you, you would experience. Like Jim Carrey, right? Yeah. I hope everybody goes and experiences all the things that they want, so they'll see that it's not the answer. And so I'm not saying money can't make you happy.
Yep.
Like, if I could buy a yacht, I'd be really happy, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, we become nose blind to smells in our house. We become nose blind to money and the things that it can buy. And so there has to be something greater and transcendent that we seek to accomplish or be a part of, rather than material riches. Mm-hmm. That's what I say.
Very cool. I love that.
Come on.
I love
Come
that.
on. Sound like a philosopher up here.
Well, so then what would you say? I mean, you probably already did cover it a little bit, but what would you say to someone, a young entrepreneur, like a 25-year-old,
young entrepreneur,
right? who's getting it? They're getting they're tasting some success, and they're hungry for more, and maybe they're not content with where they are. Yeah. Sort of what sort of advice would you give to someone in that position? Maybe they started like an investment firm that's killing it. I'm trying to think of the most boring job. Yeah.
Well, you're right. You're right. Well, so I'm not saying that we still don't hustle. Mm-hmm. Let me make clear. Like, I still think we need to hustle. We still need to work. We still need to be diligent. I would say, number one, don't quit in the dip. Okay. In my field, in the church world, you never quit on Monday mornings, because that is the time that pastors often had a very, very difficult time on Sunday. Maybe the attendance of the offering, or they had a tough conversation with somebody after service. Maybe they got their sermon critiqued, so they want to quit on Monday. That is never the time to do it. And I would say for any aspiring entrepreneur, any businessman, any leader, like, don't quit at your lowest, because eventually that dip is going to have an upswing. So I say, number one, don't quit in the dip. Number two, make sure you stay. Don't forget the purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing. What is the transcendent purpose behind why you're doing a said thing? And keep that front and center. Mm-hmm. It's so easy in the grind and the hustle of life to forget why you actually started something in the first place. Right. And so I would say between those two things, man, and then life is tough. Things are difficult. not everything scales and grows immediately. Don't compare what you're doing now in year 2 and 3 to someone's success story in 6 months.
Right.
Because you never know what grind, hustle, and just not quitting. You never know how that can long-term pay super dividends.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, so what's the future like for you?
Come on. Well, hey, listen. Appreciate it. Man, listen, so, it's Easter Sunday on Sunday.
Okay.
So in case you don't know, in the Christian world, that's Super Bowl Sunday.
Okay.
And so I'm getting prepared for that, getting a message together. We just moved into a new venue. It's at a hotel. It's called at the Westin in Mount Laurel. And so enjoying the season, believing a lot of people are going to be impacted. And then I'm looking forward to getting some time off with my family during the summer. I take off a little bit of June just so I can be with my family between like Mother's Day and Father's Day. So I'm looking forward to just getting some good concerted time with my kids, because sometime in the hustle and bustle of ministry, they can get easily overlooked. And so, yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to spending some time with them. Of course, my wife, Sarah, whom I love. Hey, baby. Hey, you don't know I'm recording this podcast, but here I am. Looking forward to spending some time with her and, just making some memories, man. That's what I'm looking forward to doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
it's going to be
awesome.
good, man.
That's awesome. Well, tell them where they can find you.
Okay, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
find me. What is my Instagram? It's a IG handle. Oh, Ernest Cleo Grant II. You can look me up on I'm on there. Church is acceleratechurch.tv, and we put all our clips and sermons and content on there. So, man, we're happy to do it.
Well, thank you. Well, before we go, there's a couple things I want to do. Before we
Hey,
go.
let's do it.
First of all, for all the YouTube exclusive viewers, you get to see sock shopping, where you get to go in and pick whatever socks you want, take them home
Great.
with you. And then also, I want to get your feedback. Now, you don't have to touch them because they're dirty. I've been
Okay.
wearing them. But the brand new APTHCRY 3D printed mule is dropping in
Let's
May.
go. Let's
I just
go.
want to get your honest feedback on it. I can hold it for you so you don't have to touch the bottom because we really have been wearing them. But
Hey, listen. I love them. I love that you're stepping into this space.
Okay. Oh,
they look.
nice. I like the
they
button.
look
That's
uber.
great.
They look uber comfortable.
oh, my bad.
Oh,
my
oh,
bad,
don't worry
my bad.
about it. As long as you don't
Let's
spill it,
see
we're
how
good.
absorbent they are. Great. Let's go.
They look really. They're a sign of the times, man. Bro, they look great, man. I want a pair.
Yo,
I want a pair, man.
I got you.
All right, let's do it, man.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for watching and listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is that you listen on, we're now going to do our YouTube exclusive content with the sock shopping. So let's do it. All right. So we're going around the office, seeing what
Come
you
on.
want to grab, what you want to rock.
Okay, let's see here.
So we got all the limited collections here. They're all labeled. So we got the Nathan Walker collection that just dropped. He's an artist based out of NYC. And then we've got the essentials, so all the basic colors on the wall. And then we've got some of the, what are these right here? We got the flames in all the different colorways.
Brother, I love it.
Yeah,
I
right?
love it.
We got
I love
graffiti.
it.
We got, these are the patchwork.
I had no idea you had so many.
We got a lot of
different
styles.
socks.
We got so many.
Some-
we got
I mean-
everything. We got Eagles. Are you an Eagles fan? I forget.
I
always
am an
forget.
Eagles fan.
You are an Eagles
I
fan.
am an Eagles
We got
fan.
Eagles green. Where's Kelly green? We might be out of Eagles green because the Super
Might
Bowl.
be
No,
out
it's
of
right
Eagles
here.
green.
We do have Eagles
You know
green.
what? I like that. I'm gonna go with the birds.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go with the birds.
Let's
This is
go.
amazing.
There we
really,
go.
really appreciate it.
Well,
my
you can
guy.
take as many. Seriously, you can take like 5 pairs.
No,
you can take 10 pairs if you want.
Listen, I don't want to take all your stuff.
No,
They already
no,
have
no,
opinions about preachers being greedy, so I don't want to. No, this is joke.
Oh, we actually do have the Easter collection.
Okay, cool.
We got pastel stars.
You know what? I like the Easter collection.
We also got, check this out. A Good Friday sock. Says Good Friday on it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take
Not
3
too
then.
bad.
Okay,
We got the
that's
mint
good.
blossom. So these are actually, so Melanie designed these. These are actually based off of a Pennsylvania Easter egg. Is it an Easter egg or like Easter design? That's awesome. Yeah, so we've
Bro,
got
I like
the designs
these
are based
pastel
off of
socks.
Pennsylvania Easter eggs, so we sort of rooted it in history a little bit.
Come on. Come
Yeah,
on,
man.
Come on. Well, I think I'm good, man. I got the
Let's
Good
go.
Fridays, the Easter eggs, the Eagles. Bro,
Let's
I
go.
feel great about this,
I
man.
appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Bro, pleasure's all mine, man. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you.